Another edition of The Reset. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come on now. I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us on this episode right here. We're going to talk about what is the biggest reason for the change to the season. Absolutely. Pro Bowl voting, it has already started. Who is that one player that you will be mad as hell at if they don't get on there from the Seahawks? We'll talk about that and more. Let's go.
It's The Reset with G. Scott.
Welcome back into The Reset. Look, what is the biggest reason for the change in the season? It's me, G. Scott, hanging out with Frank the Tank here on the show. The biggest reason for the change in the season for these Seahawks is quite simple. It's Mike Macdonald and this defense. Period, point blank. Here is a defense that the first 8 games of the season, they were giving up 23 points a game. They were giving up 148 yards a game rushing. And we talked about it constantly all the time. The Seahawks were cheeks when it came to stopping the run. And right now, you got this team right now, they're only giving up the last 3 games. They're only giving up 82 points, 82 rushing yards a game. That's 5th in the National Football League.
And tell them, G, who were those last 3 opponents?
All division.
All division. That's why they brought this guy in. They brought in Mike Macdonald because he can shut down the division. That's what we want to see. He could shut down the San Francisco offense. He could shut down Kyler Murray because we thought we were vulnerable to mobile QBs. Nope, we got him shut down. And he can even a completely different approach to Stafford, pocket passer, strong receivers that have experience. Shut down all 3 of those. That's why he was brought in.
I would say arguably that the NFC West division have 2 of the best play callers, offensive play callers in the game, and Frank makes a great point about that. I'd argue Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, them dudes, man, they get it done. But obviously, that's the reason. So put it in the chat. Who is the biggest reason for the change in the season? We'll talk about that. I'm giving you Mike Macdonald and the defense. You might have something different. Your thoughts?
Well, and I want to just mention something you brought up about the coaches in the division. I was looking through it, what teams will have new coaches versus what teams will have the same coaches. I think our division might be the only division that is untouched. So check this out. The Jets and the Saints already replaced their coaches. Then you have Cincinnati. They may replace their coach. That would be the AFC North. Jacksonville, they're replacing their coach. The Raiders, they're replacing their coach. So that's the AFC now, if you include the Jets. Then you have the Giants. Then you have the Bears. And then, of course, you already had New Orleans. We might have every division has a new coach except for our division. Our division may be the only group of 4 teams where the coaching is figured out, and it might be all long-term.
Yeah. Well, look, the NFC West division, as you guys know, there's still a lot of big games to be played. The Seahawks still have to travel down to Arizona. They still have to travel down to the Rams. Grateful that the Rams just lost this past weekend. However, the Seahawks right now control their own destiny. Now the next 3 out of the next 4 games are going to be on the road, right? So I'm glad they took care of business at home, something that they had not done in a while. But going right now with this team, I just got to give a huge shout out to the defense. I got to give a huge shout out to Mike Macdonald, John Schneider, and them making that move at linebacker. Bringing in Ernest Jones IV has been incredible. Recognizing that they have a star in the making in Tyrese Knight. I had no idea that number 48 was going to be moving around like he has been doing. This defense has been rocking. As a matter of fact, last night after the show, I was talking to someone, and one of the things that was said is this is what the Seahawks probably have to do now. If the defense just stays just like this, right? To the point where if they can stay like this right here, all the offense has to do is put up 27, 30 points. That's it. Just put up put up them numbers right there, and they can get it done. One of the things that Mike Macdonald talked about on the Brock and Salk show. As a matter of fact, they do it after every single game. Mike McDonald gets on the Brock and Salk show on our Seattle sports station, and he does an interview with them. And one of the things he's talking about is the improvement in the run game, right? And so the reason why I want to keep harping on that and bringing that up, because it has been a standard and it's been a thing that we've talked about on this show constantly. People try to make football difficult. People try to be in all the Madden stuff and fantasy football. No, it's simple. Stop the run, run the ball. When you're able to do those things, you will get the result. How many football teams? How many of these GMs out here are playing fantasy football with their teams? What do I mean by that? Saquon Barkley. How's he doing? Derrick Henry. How's he doing? Why are these teams not understanding? And one of the things that Frank the Tank has been saying, and I'm going to give him credit for it, right now we are seeing it. It is the running back renaissance right now, baby. You got you a back. You gonna be active. Matter of fact, I got some stats for you.
Oh, I might have some too, but you go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of stats, right now, the Giants, as you all know, they let Saquon leave. The Titans, they let Derrick Henry leave. The Raiders let Josh Jacobs leave. Those three teams are a combined 7-26. These GMs get paid. Those running backs, those three that I talked about right now, they are a combined 24-9. So the reason why I'm talking about the running backs is because it is crucial that the Seahawks continue to run the ball. They have to be able to. They cannot get to where we want and expect them to be without the running game. And I got to give them some credit. And I'll give Ryan Grubb some credit, because there was a drive, there was an 8-minute and 12-second drive in that fourth quarter that Ryan Grubb was fantastic. That offense was fantastic because it was huge. It ate up 8 minutes of that clock, and that was something that is needed. So kudos to that. I want to give also a shout out. Look, I'm going to slow down a little bit, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just, everybody's great and you're throwing, this is good. No, what I'm doing is I'm going back over things that we have all talked about, things that we don't like. We have talked about the offensive line. We've talked about giving up the run. We've talked about being able to run the ball, 4th-and-1 situations, no creativity. There's all kinds of issues that we talked about. We have to give credit that some of those issues are being taken care of and handled. However, are there some other things that are concerns? Yes, there are. And I'll give you 2 of those things, right? I'll give you 2 of the things that I'm a little concerned about. Number 1, I'm a little concerned of some of the turnovers and the interceptions that Geno Smith has thrown over. I think he has like 11 in the last 11 games total. So I'm not going too crazy on it. Even he'll tell you that it was a mistake, the one that he made. But hey, I'm a little, watching that with my good eye. The second thing that concerns me, Frank the Tank, and I want us to talk about this, is the red zone. I have not liked the Seahawks offense in the red zone. It's a stall. You guys see it, and it's something that they're going to have to get better at. I'm not saying they're not great at other things, but these are some concerns I have.
Did you see much of the Lions on week 12?
I did not.
There was a touchdown where Jahmyr Gibbs was able to bounce outside, and it just made me really jealous, because I do think a lot of the play calling gets a little stale in the red zone, where they're just diving in the middle over and over again, and then Geno has to create something out of nothing, instead of like, why aren't we bouncing this outside? Why aren't we running a counter? Why aren't we running a power run that pushes you guys all the way outside the numbers? Something a little different, because I think Ken Walker is a really talented running back. You know your Chicago sports. I think he's a little bit in his Matt Forte era. There was a play where he had 5 broken tackles for a negative 2-yard gain. I'm like, yeah, that was Matt Forte's career in Chicago. That fit. Like, and I don't want to see that for Ken Walker. But for Geno Smith, we've talked about it before, how how poor his red zone passing numbers have been, sometimes it does feel like he's the king of the 20 to the 20. So in between that 60 yards, he's one of the best quarterbacks out there. But I get really nervous when he's backed up on his own end zone, as we see almost another safety. We already have a couple of those on the year. He's throwing picks on that side of the field. And then, of course, he's committed a lot of turnovers right in the end zone, right inside the 5-yard line in the red zone. It's tough. It's tough because we had a pick 6 and we scored 16 points. And I love this win, and I really like the excitement that we're getting out of this team, but there's still issues on offense.
Yeah, there are some issues on offense, but I'll tell you what's been great on offense. Boy, I tell you right now, JSN is the best wide receiver out there. A lot of you guys thought I was crazy. That's right. And just the trio of them is incredible. DK, Tyler Lockett, doing their thing. Right now, you got JSN with 66, 65, 68. I think it's 68. Yes, I think he's got 68, 67, 68 receptions on the season.
Well, how many more receivers have more than that?
Is it 5, 4?
It's CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, and Malik Neighbors.
So 5?
Yeah, he's 6th.
Yeah, there it is. And I think that is some of the reasons why that dude is getting ready to get loose. I'm saying this right now. It is Tuesday, November, is it 26? Yes, Tuesday, November 26. This next game against the Jets, JSN will have 150-plus yards receiving.
Wow. Okay. And he's doing that on Sauce? You know the Seahawks fans.
Plus receiving.
You know the Seahawks fans don't like Sauce.
JSN is getting loose. The goose is loose. The Mamba mentality is in him, and I think that we're getting ready to see this dude really take off with everything. But I want to go back to talking about what is going right. What is going right is, I just want to say, Mike McDonald, I think that we now finally see. We see it now. And the reason what we see is we talked about the possibility of a lot of head coaches not being able to get a hold of the team and get the success going. We all know that Pete Carroll, it took him a couple years to really get it going. Even though they made the playoffs that year in 2010, they were still 7-9 that year. They kind of backed into the playoffs because the NFC West division wasn't that great. But, however, they did make it. To watch this team and watch how things have been going have been great. And I want to give credit to who our guest is tomorrow. As you guys know, Brandon Mebane and Frank the Tank. You remember, Brandon Mebane said it. He said, this is not a talent issue. He stood on that because the first thing that most people want to do, a lot of things, you get rid of that person, get rid of that person, get rid of that person. You look, it's no different than in real life. In real life, sometimes you got to stand up and you got to develop. Sometimes you got to make that relationship better. You got to make that work situation better. You got to stand there and fight. And this is what the beauty of what Seattle has done over these last few weeks. They developed that person. They developed that player. Draymond Jones, some of y'all was ready to throw him away. How you like him now? Kobe Bryant, you was ready to throw him away. How you like him now? Center situation happens, Oluwatani, he comes in, right? Devin Witherspoon, a lot of people kept saying, well, gee, what about the interceptions? He doesn't have the interceptions. What, do you see that dude on the field?
But when that pick 6 happened, he deserved so much credit because he was so fast and his change of direction was so significant that Kyler Murray, one of the fastest quarterbacks out there, had to pivot to make that bad throw.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't happen without Witherspoon and his freak athleticism. Also, let's talk about one guy that we haven't really talked about much. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to pan the camera. Oh, we haven't talked about Leo. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Week.
Leo Big Cat Williams. Hey, can I ask you guys a question? Where is Leo Williams from? Where did the Seahawks get him from? where did they get the execution from? I mean, the New York Giants, they gonna do a damn 30 for 30 on the amount of talent that they just let walk out the door. Walk out, trade, whatever you want, whatever you call it. But Leo Big Cat Williams has been balling. Leo is exactly what we thought he was going to be. And Frank the Tank, that you can't ask for anything better. I think with Leo Williams, Byron Murphy II, the rookie, is having an incredible season. Shout out to the vet and Jay Reed, Draymond Jones. I mean, look, and by the way, ain't no excuses being made. Lost our star in Chenna. Lost him. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But Mike McDonald is, man, hey, you know what this remind me of? For real, Thanksgiving is coming. And I don't know if you guys are going to cook a meal, but have you ever been in a situation where you go to cook in somebody else's kitchen with somebody else's recipes and ingredients, and you can't really cook it like you would cook in your own kitchen? Mike McDonald came here, and he's cooking in the kitchen with the groceries. That man, he just cooking with what's here. That's what's beautiful, Frank.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. Corbin Smith, great journalist for the Seattle Seahawks, he wrote this on Twitter like an hour ago. He was saying, after watching the All-22 film, Leonard Williams played the most dominant game by a Seahawks interior defensive lineman since Cortez Kennedy. That was his claim. It doesn't have to be a take, but I thought it was interesting. Leo played super well.
I mean, guys, don't get it twisted. Hey, I'm not saying Leo ain't great, but don't say it's the best interior defensive line play since Cortez Kennedy, when the Seahawks for 4 years in a row on defense was the top scoring defense. Historic type stuff.
You're right, and they were great on all assets on that front.
The big amigo, Brandon Mebane, interior, them dudes was nasty.
Yeah.
Man, Brian, Chris Clemens, ooh, okay.
There's definitely some Mebane performances up there that channel what we saw from Leo. So, and then just to add about the Giants, right? This is what happened the last 2 seasons. It's Saquon Barkley, who is now in MVP conversations, his first year out of New York. Xavier McKinney, he's going to be an All-Pro for the Packers, first year gone. Leonard Williams, as we mentioned, he's on our team. And then Julian Love, who made a Pro Bowl in his first year, gone from the New York Giants. All those guys have left. Not to mention some other guys they have on the team, like they did get Malik Neighbors. They have Dexter Lawrence, who's a stud. And then I always go back to the idea that when Geno Smith took over for Eli Manning, and then everyone got so upset because Eli Manning broke that start streak, and then they needed to put Eli back in. Geno Smith was done. He could not play on that team anymore. The fans were out on him. That's a team, after 6 years of Daniel Jones, they're probably like, you know what, we probably should have just had Geno Smith the whole time.
Yeah. Well, as we get ready to close out the show, here's a topic that we need to discuss. Pro Bowl voting. Make sure you go to vote on the Pro Bowl. It opened yesterday. Make sure you get to vote. Let's put in the chat. Put in the comments. Who is the one player that you'll be ready to fight about from the Seahawks if they don't make to Pro Bowl? You can only pick one. You guys know what my answer is. I mean, come on. You know it's JSN, right? You know it is JSN for the Pro Bowl. Now, another question would be, Frank, how many do you think the Seahawks get into the Pro Bowl this year? What would you comfortably say, like, I would like to see this many, and what players would it be? Frank?
I'll start small and give me 3. How about 3? JSN's the one we're going to fight over. What he's doing is ridiculous in terms of he might have 100 catches, 1,000 yards. He's already scoring touchdowns. If he can get that up to 6 or 7 or 8, it'd be great. He needs to be there. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terry McLaurin are going to be Pro Bowls in the NFC on that side, but JSN's right there with them. I would want to throw in a combination of either Witherspoon or Reek. I'm probably leaning Witherspoon right now, but we'll see. One of those corners makes it. And then Leo Williams. defensive interior linemen. You know, there's Dexter Lawrence, there's Jalen Carter for Philly, and then I think it's kind of wide open. I love Julian Love. He's arguably my favorite Seahawk, one of my favorite Seahawks for sure. I just think the safety is just too competitive in the NFC right now.
Yeah, the safety. I want 4. I want 4 Pro Bowlers. JSN, no doubt, for sure. Leo Williams, no doubt, for sure. You guys, I don't want to leave DK off this list. Now, I know I might be a little greedy asking to have DK on the list, but I don't want to be greedy. In my 4th, it's going to be Spoon. And you know what I love about Spoon? No doubt. I've looked at some of these all-22s, and you ever sometimes do highlights? You watch a lot of young kids these days. They don't watch NBA. They watch a lot of people. They might watch the highlights, or in a football game, you might just watch the highlights, but you didn't see the game, right? Or you might read the box scores and see what kind of stats happen. The thing about Spoon, if you really watch it, this dude is changing games. He is changing what and how offenses approach the defense. You saw with that Kobe Bryant pick six for 68 yards was because of him. So I'm going to go Leo, Spoon, JSN, and DK.
Yeah, that's a good list.
That's fair.
Where can Geno Smith get there? I was looking at the NFC quarterbacks. We got Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts. I think those 4 are ahead. Then you kind of get in the territory of Sam Darnold, who, you know, I like to think Geno Smith's better, but Sam Darnold has the stats right now. He's got the
stats.
He's got 4th in touchdowns. Record. He's 4th in touchdowns, and you're right. He has a really incredible win-loss record. Then you have Jordan Love. You know, then you have Matt Stafford and Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray. So it does get heavy. It gets complicated.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Okay, before we go, Frank the Tank wants to give me and you a few teams, right, to go over to see if they are playoff teams as of how we are feeling right now, present day. Frank the Tank, what you got?
Kick us off, Washington, after their stunning loss to Dallas.
Ooh, Washington Commanders, man. They've been losing some tough ones, right? This is rough. Right now, they got a rookie quarterback that has lost some games that they probably should have won. Losing that game against Dallas in that situation was a rough one. Oh, my goodness. You missed the extra point. This is why you can't take kickers for granted. However, I still think that they are a championship team. I think DQ got them boys. He's a veteran coach, and you got Bobby Wagner over there getting going. I got the Commanders playoffs.
We've talked a lot about Detroit. How far does Philly go?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Philly ain't playing. Let me tell you what makes them dangerous. Now Jalen Hurts doesn't have to throw it 40-something times. Now Jalen Hurts gets to kind of chill with throwing the ball. They have a run game. First of all, you go look at the offensive line. They have some investment on an offensive line. Philly can run the ball. You all know that offensive line and what it's done. No, Jason Kelsey isn't there anymore. But the Philadelphia Eagles are not the same team over the last 3 weeks. What and who they have developed into is scary. I'm taking right now, I think the Eagles, they dangerous.
What would you say, coming off a tough loss, the Houston Texans?
Man, you know, this is a tough one because they do have C.J. Stroud as their quarterback. And I think one of the biggest reasons that most of us would say they are a playoff team is because of C.J. Stroud. But, man, that loss to the Titans, that really hurts. You still got the Colts are a powerful. They can get busy in that division as well.
Yeah, they're hanging around, those Colts. They keep hanging around.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like the games that the Texans have been losing lately. They might come up short for the playoffs this year.
Wow. Okay. All right. In the crowded NFC playoff picture, how's Minnesota looking?
Minnesota can still run the ball. Minnesota still looks good. It's definitely a crowded NFC division. There's a lot of good teams. Minnesota still has to play. They still in the division with, I don't know how many times they played each of them yet, but they still in the division with the Bears, still in the division with the Lions and the Green Bay Packers, which all of those teams, even the Bears right now, can kind of sneak one in on you. So it's going to be close for the Minnesota Vikings. But the reason why I don't think the Minnesota Vikings make it to the playoffs, because if you go over history, the Minnesota Vikings do this a lot. How many times have you seen the Vikings start off and have a strong season and start to peter out a little bit towards the end? So I'm going to go against that. What do you got?
All right. 2 more. Tell me, what will Miami be at the end of the year?
Miami is Miami. Miami is another team that's been doing this. They always good and decent in this case, they had a quarterback situation, but they always start off decent in September, October. But it's Miami, man. Miami don't make it to the playoffs, and I still think, and y'all can call me crazy, I think it is hard to live and play in 2 cities in the country, Las Vegas and Miami. Have y'all ever been to Miami? You ever been there? I think it is next to impossible to be a pro all the way bought in living in Miami. So Miami will be Miami. They'll go into next year. Tua will probably be their starting quarterback. And as a matter of fact, I think McDaniel, for some reason, is just going to ride off into the sunset, tied to Tua, and ain't going to make.
It's my Daryl Morey theory with James Harden. I think you're great, but you just get stuck with that star, and then they'll define your career, at least in that segment. All right, last team. We're gonna do this. We're doing it for our guy Paul. I'm in the Paul chair. How about them Broncos?
I told y'all Bo Nix was the real deal. People laughed at me. And the reason, and no, we all know he was at Auburn and he was at Oregon, but when he gets to the league, here's what stood out to me. They came to Lumen Field, game 1. No, they didn't win, but Sean Payton allowed him to throw the ball 40-plus times in his first game on the road. You know what that tells me? Sean Payton sees something in Bo Nix, and Bo Nix, all he's been doing is getting better. I'd argue that Bo Nix, Drake May are some of the best rookie quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels, best rookie quarterbacks right now in the league. So I'm all bought in. I'm bought in on the Denver Broncos can sneak one against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they can. Absolutely. By the way, the Chiefs are only the Chiefs this year because that defense is absolutely that defense is lights out. Mahomes been turning that ball over a little bit more than he should have for me. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, share with your friends. Man, we always appreciate you guys coming to hang out. Remember, the Seahawks right now first in the division, baby. First in the division and third in the NFC. Who would have thought? That's why you continue to play the games. Big game that's coming up this week. Tomorrow, we'll talk to Brandon Mebane and see what he has to say about that. Oh, as far as X's and O's, here's an X and O's. Hey, for the holidays, man, stay away from them conversations. Stay away from politics. Stay away from religion. We gotta quit. We gotta quit doing all that. You know what I mean? Enjoy your holidays this season. Bite your tongue a little bit. Sometimes it's better to take the high road. If they go low, you go high, and everything works out. Save that argument. Save for peace. Look, tomorrow's not promised. Enjoy your holidays. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Appreciate you rocking with me. Love you for that. And as always, be kind.